everyone, and welcome to another episode of Taco Matta Tuesday, the show where we eat healthy, delicious tacos and have conversations about life. Did you know that there are only 2 days in the year in where nothing can be done? One is called yesterday, and the other is called tomorrow. So today, my friend, is the right day to love, believe, do, and most importantly, live. Such an incredible message that I hope really resonates with you and sets the tone for what it is that we're going to talk about today. I had a really funny experience happen over the weekend that ended up turning into such an awesome, eye-opening experience that I want to share with each of you on not just how to make the most of any situation that you're going through, but just certain things that came from making the most of this situation that I had the opportunity to experience. So we're going to jump into that. But first, let's go ahead and talk about the taco of the week. I'm going to be honest, you guys. It's that time of the month, lady friends. You know what I mean? And I have just been like, let me eat the kitchen pantry, please, along with every single bit of ice cream that I possibly can. I don't know if y'all just get sweet tooth cravings around that time, but if you do, or if you just like sweet tooth cravings and you like healthier ways to enjoy it, best believe I got an ice cream taco that's going to blow your freaking socks off. This is one of my favorites. I'm pulling this from the archives. Peanut butter and banana chocolate chunk tacos. You're welcome. Go to the show notes before you leave the episode today to grab that recipe card, because I promise you, being able to make your own ice cream and then sit it in a delicious taco, you're welcome. Just, that's all I have to say. All right, let's jump on into the episode for today. So let me just start off with telling the story around what happened this weekend. So I am not allowed to be responsible for my keys to my car anymore. I went up to Boulder, and my intention of going up to Boulder was to do a training for the Wild West Relay, which is a 200-mile relay race that I'm running not this upcoming weekend, but the following weekend with Dave and a couple friends. Actually, 12 of us are going to be splitting up this 200-mile race from Fort Collins all the way out to Steamboat Springs. And I'm just thrilled because I've never been to Steamboat Springs. I know I'm the weirdest Colorado native ever. But I just am excited to be outside and do a totally completely different sort of race. This is just gonna be super cool for me. So I was like, I am doing all of the ascents because I asked to do a lot of the big climbs. I just feel like I'm really good at that and I enjoy that kind of grunt work. So I was like, put me on the climbs. And so that's what I was doing. And so I went out to specifically train for that, train on doing some slight incline, being able to jog through the trails, things of that nature. Had a wonderful time. Such an awesome time being outside, crushing some hills. And so came back to my car, was getting ready to take off my shoes. I was like, ooh, I really want to refuel right now. I want my protein. And so flashback to 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. And I had locked my keys in the car. And Dave was actually the one to try and get my car unlocked. We couldn't. It was just a really funny experience that we got to share together before we were dating. And then, the locksmith came and saved our butts. But I literally, you guys, just had this happen to me where my keys got locked in the car a handful of months ago, not even that long ago. And so I left my key there in the center console and I was like, oh, I'm going to make sure to press the unlock button so that way if this door accidentally closes, I won't be screwed. The doors will all be unlocked. Instead of just taking the key from my center console, I'm like, let's press the unlock button instead and play with fire. Well, this dum-dum pressed the lock button. And then after she presses the lock button, not knowing she pressed the lock button, shuts the door. Doesn't even just think about, oh, it might close or just let's keep it open just in case. Just by habit, shuts the damn door. And I walk around to the other side and I go to open up the door and it's locked. And I'm like, Kayla, you did not just do this. And I'm sitting there staring at my phone and my key right there in the center console. And I'm like, I'm up in Boulder. I am a good 30 to 35 minutes away from home. I have no idea where anyone is at right now, nor can I really even contact them because I don't have a phone, and I don't know anyone around me. This is going to be a fun one to try and solve. So luckily I was parked next to a church and they were having session at this point. So I was like, okay, I'll just go to the church and I'm hoping that someone will let me use their phone. Well, meanwhile, this guy comes running down the way and he's like, hey, good job on the trail today. He was a guy that was really, really sweet, that was like cheering me on as I was basically like following his pace from behind. And I was like, hey, thanks so much. Do you by chance have a phone? And he was like, yeah, of course I do. And I was like, so here's the situation. I explained it to him. He was like, oh no, he goes, here, I'm going to give you my phone. I literally just live like right down the street here. I'm going to let you keep my phone. I'm just going to run home really quick, take a shower, get some lunch, bring you back some water. I'll be back in like an hour. Does that sound good? And I'm just like sitting there in complete amazement. Like, is this really happening right now? This complete stranger must sense some really positive aura from me that I'm not going to do something wicked with his phone. Like, I mean, it's an Apple iPhone. It's a newer version. It's pretty damn expensive, right? Like, who just does that? I mean, I guess I would potentially do that too, depending on who I was standing across from. But I was like, man, there are some good people in this world. So anyways, long story short, he runs home. I call my insurance company. They get me free roadside emergency type stuff. We get the key unlocked. He gets his phone back. I get finally back into the car. But that was like the overall story. What happened in between him leaving, me calling, and then sitting there for an entire hour with me, myself, and I, with no phone besides this random stranger's phone, and just my thoughts, was such an interesting and informative experience. And I just want to talk on those things because here was the real of it all. Is there were so many times where I was like, oh, I could be doing something else right now. There were times where I was like, oh my gosh, this hour is going to feel like a freaking eternity. And I was like, I could sit here and ruminate on these thoughts that are clearly not helpful, or I can choose a different set of thoughts and instead make the most of this situation. And so I started to think about, if I was to make the most of this situation, what would I do? And the first thing that I thought about is like during my week, I have a pretty crazy schedule. As a personal trainer, and I do online programming, and I work at 2 separate gyms, like it's just a lot. And anytime that people are not working, I'm working because I'm a trainer and I have to train the people that are not at work, right? It's just kind of the way that works. So I'm up really early. I have random hours in the middle of the day to go do what I need to do and to train. And then I'm up late at night training people. And then, filling in the gaps in between to write more programming to do that thing, to continue to do my job. And there's just been like times between like teaching all of the kids at Ninja to like just running ragged between different sessions at my gym that I personal train at. And I'm like, I just wish I could just not right now. I wish I could just not do anything and just do anything at all that's not this, like for a second. And I was like, wait a second, if I really wanted to make the most of this, I get the opportunity to just do nothing right now, to literally just sit here and just be. And I was like, this is awesome. Okay, let's just be. And then I had to giggle because I'm sitting there thinking, just be, just enjoy, just being. And I'm like, man, I'm really bad at like sitting still, and I need to practice that more. Like my brain is always going, is always thinking about a lot of things. And while I'm really big on, trying to be productive and finding your flow, like when things hit you, like go with the flow moment, I really do think that a lot of burnout and inability to recover and to perform at your highest level in all capacities of life comes from your mind going wild 24/7. And I know that mine does that at least 23/7. And that hour is a lucky hour where maybe I'm like knocked out of unconscious and REM sleep, okay? But all of that to say is that sometimes making the most of the situation that you're in is just being able to close your eyes and just be. Think of how much more present we will become in our lives and the time that we will create just by making the most of the minutes where we get the chance to pause. I know that I run a really hectic schedule, but just to think, okay, I'm going to go to the break room for 2 minutes, and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to take a deep breath. And just for 2 minutes, I'm just going to focus on my breath, right? And just close my eyes and just be. And I guarantee that those 2 minutes, even though they're not an eternity, they are going to bring me so much calmness and so much peace, and just allow for me to recharge those batteries in a matter of 2 minutes. And that's it. So maybe we need to get good at just being still. And not just for being still for like a minute or two, but also being still for like 20 minutes. There's actually this wonderful challenge that I remember. I actually can't remember where it came from, but they were like, see if you can just be still in your mind and in your body without any distractions for 20 minutes. And oh my gosh, it's one of the hardest things in the entire world. So maybe this is your call or your opportunity to make the most of the current season of life that you're in, whether it's daily or weekly or monthly, taking 20 minutes to challenge yourself to just be and create time and space for yourself to just be, to be peaceful and calm and patient and present. I just got to imagine that is such a hidden golden nugget that so many of us can really take value from. The other really exciting thing that came from the situation is that when I finally started to shut off all the thoughts around like, gosh, I could be doing this. This is going to take so long. Oh, I'm not going to be able to get this done now. Like, ba-da-da-da. When I stopped worrying about what wasn't happening for me in that moment, I started to see all that was happening. When I was able to redirect those thoughts again, to just sit there and to just be, and I opened my eyes, I saw the cutest couple. And I don't know actually if they were a couple or not. They could have just been friends. But this man brought this girl a bouquet of sunflowers, which in that moment, I knew that I was in the right place at the right time. But this man bought this girl a bouquet of sunflowers, and they sat underneath the trees on a bench, and they just talked. That's it. They just talked. And then right behind them rode past these two people, probably a married couple, on like a double bike. I don't know what they're called, but like it has the two seats and the pedals, the two sets of pedals. And they were just like so lit up and so happy just to be enjoying those moments together, riding their bike down the street, right? It just, the conversations that were happening, the joy and excitement that was going on around me. It's like, man, I'm really glad that I stopped worrying about all that wasn't happening and then started getting present in all that was happening, because I'm realizing and getting to witness some pretty incredible moments of life and some things that inspired me to try some new things, some things that inspired me to just like find joy in whatever moment that you're in, right? Just to be open, to be honest, to be curious, all from just sitting there and shutting off the thoughts around the things that didn't matter, honestly. And guys, this stuff takes time. This takes so much time. And I actually wanted to mention this at the beginning of the talk, is that when I locked my key in the car at that point, I was of course like, shit, for like a minute and a little bit freaked out. But then I was pretty easily able to just be like, all right, let's go into solution mode, because I know that by sitting here and my emotions pissed off and frustrated, I'm not going to get anywhere. So let's go into solution mode and let's not react, because at the end of the day, someone's going to be nice enough to let me use their phone. And worst case scenario, someone's going to come pick me up. So I'm not going to be stranded here overnight, right? So this is not that big of a deal. I can do this. And that, being able to do that when, oh my gosh, the version of Kayla, like probably a handful of years ago, she would have been uber pissed. This same thing applies here, right? Is all of these things that I'm sharing with you guys, this stuff takes time. This stuff doesn't happen overnight, but hopefully by me just even putting it into your awareness, you're allowing yourself to store it. And then in the moments where you face situations like this, you're able to think of it, right? Acknowledge the situation that you're in, and then use the skill or these skills that I'm now giving you to help you think, okay, I just need to redirect. And if I redirect and I don't live in my emotions, I should be able to put one foot in front of the other in a way that's going to get me to where it is that I want to go, right? And that actually leads me perfectly to the next thing, right? Which is, we sit here waiting for the next thing in our life, hoping that it comes faster and faster. And I think about this, right? Of like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to like go to Connecticut with Dave in a couple of weeks. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for World Championships at the end of the year, right? And we just keep thinking about all of these things, which like you should be excited about the life that you're getting ready to live. I'm not saying to not plan ahead and get excited about your future, but I feel like sometimes we're just like, oh, I can't wait to get off of work, or oh, I can't wait to do XYZ. And then we don't make the most of the time that we're currently in. We're just sitting there counting down the minutes until we can get to that next event. But before you know it, years have gone by, and we find ourselves reminiscing on these times and just potentially wishing that we could go back and relive it. How about instead we choose to live it now? We choose to live through what we're experiencing right here in this moment and appreciate for what this moment in life is bringing to you rather than waiting to get to the next thing. Because the truth is, one day that won't be an option. And I don't mean to bring like a sad tone to this, but guys, we only live once. These magical minutes that we're here experiencing, we got to see them as that, and we got to cherish them as that. Because one day, that opportunity won't be there for us. And I want to get to the finish line of my life knowing that I did the most that I could to live in every single situation that was given to me. Good, bad, ugly, it doesn't matter. I want to know that I lived fully through it. And I want to do this really quick, and I want to read this message of a special birthday card that I got from Dave on my 30th birthday in May this year. And it says, a lot of people will tell you that 30 is a really cool number and that this decade will be the best yet. They're not wrong, but I have to tell you, it has nothing to do with the number 30. It's the days that make the years so rewarding. Don't lose sight of these magical moments that make each day special. And I couldn't agree with him more, which is why I have this hanging right above where I record my podcast, because it brings me joy every time that I read it and allows me to get present and joyful and peaceful in this season of life that I'm currently living. Here's where I want to leave you for today. Life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it. You can choose to do nothing and therefore live a life of regret. You could also choose to get caught up in your emotions and live life as a victim. Or you can choose to make the most of every situation and create magical moments that makes this journey through life so freaking special. Thank you guys so much for showing up for you today. And I hope that this podcast resonated in a way that you are able to share this with someone that truly needs to hear it. If not, rate or review this podcast if you have not done so already. Thank you guys again for just giving me the space to learn and grow with you, hoping that you are also learning and growing with me in your life as we navigate all of these different fun curveballs and fun situations where we lock our keys in the car for the second time of the year. Let's hope I don't do it again. But until then, you guys, go out there, create the most of these magical minute moments that you are gifted every single day. And I will see you guys next week for another episode of Taco Betta Tuesday. See you then.